Thanks very much, Mr. Aghi, for taking the time out and speaking to us here on ET Now. You've been in Washington, D.C. You've been here for the past 2 days. I'm sure that you've had conversations with Indian policy makers. The overall sense, what is it that you're getting in terms of the deal between the United States and India? Is it imminent?
Well, you heard the president last week say that we have a good deal, and it's a good deal for India. Today, India doesn't love me, but it's going to love me after the deal. So hopefully, it's a deal which is going to benefit India. But there seemed to be a lot of anxiety about the deal, which is understandable because you have the garment exporters, the shrimp exporters who are getting impacted. And so we got to protect those jobs. And so as soon as the deal is announced, hopefully you'll see the lesser tariff on Indian goods, so at least the exports can go up.
Absolutely, and this is something that the cabinet, India's cabinet also, unveiled yesterday, a package to sort of give relief and support to Indian exporters. But Mr. Aghi, I want to also get in your views on something that we've been gathering from our sources within the government. They seem to be stating that there is no further need of negotiations between India and the United States as far as the trade deal is concerned. We've also seen the US government shut down. Well, a vote has been passed on that front, so that is also going to be resolved. But in your assessment, given the fact that you've been observing the space for a very, very long period of time, do you think we will be able to announce a deal this year?
Well, you have to understand that India was the first country to bat on the deal part. And what we saw is the goalposts changing and the expectations changing from the US side. When I say goalposts changing, because every time the negotiator agreed on something, it'll get pushed back again, we'll get some more. And at the same time, what we also saw is that countries like Indonesia, Vietnam, they not only gave the deal, also they committed certain large investment into the country. So a simple deal with India was no longer attractive.
Absolutely.
And so basically, that's why I said the goalposts changed also. And, the fundamental question you have to ask is when do you stop? And saying, hey, this deal is important, but unless we close it, we can't drag it on. And I think that's where India is at the moment, saying we have gone way beyond what we expected to do. And now the ball is in US court, and they have to go close the deal.
Absolutely, and both the governments essentially are working within November. They expected to close the first tranche of the bilateral trade agreement by fall, which is by the end of November, but we'll have to see whether that gets closed or not, because India has also indicated that we don't really work with any timelines, and a deal has to benefit both the countries, and we will be, of course, protecting our interests. But given by the kind of commentary that we've seen, in fact, Minister Goel has come on record and stated that the deal may happen tomorrow, it may take a couple of months, but we will be protecting our domestic interests, and that is going to be of prime importance to us. How are you? And of course, how is the overall business community really reading into these comments that have been coming off late as far as the trade between the two countries is concerned?
Well, every nation has to protect their own interest. And India has as much right as any other country. India is a sovereign nation, a proud nation, and it has to basically negotiate what's good for it and walk away what's not good for it. So I think those comments are valid. As far as the U.S. businesses goes, I must have talked to over 70 global CEOs last 90 days, and not a single one has told me they will reduce their investment in India, or they'll move the supply chain out of India, or they will start slowing down in basically expanding their businesses in India. So I think the interest of corporate America are still very, very strong on India. In fact, we just finished a conference with the American companies, and they are very much committed to India itself. You have to understand, India is not just about cheap labor. It's also market opportunity for these companies. When you look at China, it's closing down for the U.S. companies. both from a market opportunity perspective and also from, basically manufacturing there. So from that perspective, India does provide that alternative. Yes, we have seen a lot of movement. It could be better, faster. That's what we're focused on at the moment.
Right. And since you mentioned about China, I have to ask you this. We did see some sort of an understanding got arrived at between the United States and China a couple of days back. A full-fledged deal wasn't really fleshed out. However, both the sides agreed to sort of work through some of the challenges that both the sides were facing. Do you think that sort of a mini deal perhaps could be arrived at between India and the United States, and maybe a larger deal could be looked at later?
Well, let me first address the issue of China. When you talk to the American corporate CEOs, you talk to the senators and congressmen, they see China as competition. And they see China as an aggressive rising power. They see India as a soft power, a non-threatening power, rising, which kind of partners with the U.S. and serves its interest. The U.S. companies see the economic prosperity of India is beneficial for them, because as the purchasing power goes up, the Indians tend to buy a lot of American goods, music, services, or education itself. And also rising, I would say a strong military strong in India is good for regional stability. So I think in every aspect, the picture on China and the U.S. has not changed. In fact, China's position on critical minerals threatening the global economy is seen as aggressive posture, and suddenly everybody's started looking at their own critical mineral development itself. So I think when you look at U.S.-China relationship, there will be challenges. Yes, today we are looking things on India purely from a trade deal perspective, and that prism is very narrow.
Yes.
And it has its road bumps to it, which is fine, but the relationship much broader. We have 5 million plus Indian Americans in the U.S. doing very well. You have, we just signed a 10-year defense deal with the U.S.
Yes.
When you look at from technology, there's a lot of collaboration taking place. On space, there's a collaboration taking place. So I think we should not just get mesmerized by just trade deal, which is defines a relationship. The relationship is much broader.
Absolutely. The relationship is much broader, and that's also being communicated by the premiers of both the countries. And in the recent past few days, we've also seen Marco Rubio speak very highly about the ties that both the countries have. However, I have to ask you this, Mr. Aghi, about the trade deal, given the fact that energy has been a key issue. It's been a thorny issue between both the sides, but India has indicated that it is open to buying more energy trade, and the US is going to be a critical part of India's energy security ecosystem. Do you think this time around there could be energy could figure as an important, sort of feature of this trade deal? And what exactly are businesses anticipating, surely in terms of what could be offered?
Well, you look at from a India perspective, it imports 86% of energy.
Right.
And beside getting cheaper energy, it is looking at having energy security, because as the AI investment start taking place, as the data centers opening in India, it's going to require much more energy. We have made a lot of progress on renewable, but then it is not there still. We are still very much dependent on fossil fuels itself. So I think from every aspect, energy security is important. I think in India buying the U.S. energy will definitely, I would say, appease some of the leadership in the U.S. But more important is also going to bring trade balance to parity between the two countries. So energy partnership is going to be critical. India strategically will not be dependent on U.S. energy, because I think there is a feeling that what happened on the trade side, on tariff side, the trust factor has kind of dissipated. And so you don't want to depend also on energy with a country where your trust has been kind of broken. Can it be fixed? Yes, I think it's going to take some time. But the interests of both countries are so aligned that it'll get fixed. You have to understand politicians have a shelf life, whereas the countries don't have a shelf life. And so I'm very optimistic about the relationship.
Absolutely. And when you talk about, the energy trade, etc., and, data center partnerships, we've seen OpenAI, very recently, Sam Altman has stated that India is an important market for them. They're also expanding in the country. Google has also announced a big data center investment in the country. So we are seeing these kind of investments from American companies, clearly stating that the trust, at least as far as the corporate side of things are concerned, that remains intact. But Mr. Aghi, we are also seeing the midterms approaching. We've also seen, some elections happen where the Democrats have completely swept the political scene. In light of these developments and, of course, the upcoming elections, do you think Donald Trump will be more focused on domestic issues, given the fact that Democrats will be looking at attacking him on the economic front, right? So will tariffs and trade, will that take a backseat perhaps, and can we expect more stability going into 2026?
Well, the last election where we saw Democrat sweeping state of New Jersey, Virginia, and the New York City mayor, they're all three blue states. But what was interesting is, for example, a couple of state Senate seats in Georgia, which is a red state, went to the Democrat. And then I was looking at data, like one of the district attorney contests in the state of Pennsylvania, in one of the small counties where since 1800s, a Democrat has never won. They won this time. So you can see that the young Latin vote, the independent vote, has kind of swayed back to the center itself. Okay. And that has sent alarm bells to the Republican Party. They will be focused on, along with the president, to ensure that he wins the midterm. So, yes, you're right. On the tariff part, a lot of attention will go away. Will that bring stability? We don't know, because I think you have a leader who likes constant chaos, and so I think will that go away? My feeling is no.
Okay, just one final question. I have to ask you this on the Supreme Court essentially, ruling in on the tariffs issue. There is a hearing going on. It will happen in batches in several hearings, essentially stating that the US president has overridden his powers as far as the Emergency Act in the country is concerned. Do you think that is going to, even if we end up striking a deal, do you think that is going to bring up more uncertainty for businesses? Is that going to be short term? How are you looking at that entire picture developing?
Well, you have to understand that there are 5 other ways to put the tariff on. So the Supreme Court rules this is illegal or gone beyond the powers of the presidency, then you can initiate 122 or 232, other provisions. So I don't think the tariffs are going to go away. Not only that, the tax authorities are enjoying it when they're collecting hundreds of billions of dollars itself. Right. Yes, it is going to have an inflationary impact, and which will impact the midterm election. Because you have to understand one thing, even though Democrats backed out of the current shutdown, they brought 2 issues to the forefront which will become critical to the midterm. One is health care and affordability. That's right. And I think Democrats will keep on hammering on that. And unless the Republicans come with the right answer, this will be a big issue in the midterm.
Absolutely, and the Donald Trump administration will have a lot to answer on as far as the common citizens of the United States are concerned. But on that note, thank you very much, Mr. Aghi, for taking the time out and speaking to us here on ET Now. But you rightly stated that the trust factor, at least as far as the corporate side of things are concerned, that remains intact between the United States and India. And we look forward to hearing more often from you.
Well, thank you once again.